UFC 168, Wiedman versus Silva 2. Let's break it down. Cue the intro. Okay, never mind. I guess I don't have an intro when I do this in my truck. Alright, let's get right into it. We got Miesha Tate versus Ronda Rousey for the women's bantamweight title. This is a fight that, in my opinion, is complete nonsense. It means nothing. It was nothing but a marketing ploy. And all they're really doing is bringing more people over from Strikeforce that used to watch the women's division and bringing them back after maybe they had sort of drifted to the sidelines of MMA and not really watching too much or whatever, because the UFC pay-per-views are so expensive. And you used to be able to watch Strikeforce for free and see these people. In any case, this fight, silly. Ronda's already won 2 out of 3 of their fights. I'm pretty sure this is a non-rubber match. It's like they should have been able to market this as Ronda won, Miesha won, and now somebody's gonna settle the score, kind of like a Liddell Couture type thing where they were 1-1, and somebody needs to rise above and get the 2 out of 3. But you know, it's just silly. In any case, what's gonna happen? Here's what's gonna happen. Ronda's gonna stand with Miesha for as long as it takes for her to get a body lock, and probably use an outside trip along the fence, take her down, probably straight into the mount because it's an outside trip, and I would bet this is all going to happen inside the first 2 minutes, and then it'll be simple, basically a simple waiting game for Ronda to latch a hold of one of Miesha's wrists from top control. She'll be raining down punches until Miesha lets her grab her wrist. And then it's all over. She's either going to tap or it's going to be a broken arm for Miesha Tate again. The end. Goodbye. Ronda Rousey, 135-pound women's champion. There's nobody signed to the UFC right now that's even going to give Ronda a run. Like, the only way that you're going to see Ronda challenged is if Christiane Cyborg Santos decides to lose some weight, get off the steroids, lose some weight, and clean up for a year, and sign with the UFC, and then they can market a true challenge for Ronda Rousey. The end. Now, Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman, the rematch. Now, all I got to say is, what the hell, Anderson? What the hell? The first fight was totally ridiculous. You can say anything you want, but Anderson himself will probably tell you that he really simply didn't give a expletive deleted. He just didn't. Like, he's a billionaire, probably. Maybe not. He's sponsored by Nike, for God's sakes. He's set all the records in the middleweight division in the UFC. Like, he's laughing. He's laughing. He's like nearly an old man as far as the fight game's concerned. He's getting into his very late 30s. Like, what more does he have to prove? And that's why I went into the first fight going, you know what, I don't give a whoa. I'm either gonna light this guy up in my usual fashion, looking like a cocky arsehole, or whatever. And it ended up being whatever, because Weidman caught him. Now, the thing that I think is gonna happen here is we're gonna see a repeat. And it may not be quite the same sort of blowout where Weidman is able to catch Silva clowning, as it were, or how it was described. I don't get that term, but whatever. He was just being foolish. He wasn't trying to, I don't know why they say that, clown him. He was clowning Weidman. Anyway, I think what we're going to see is basically Chris Weidman will look like Chael Sonnen 2.0. He's got all the same wrestling credentials as Chael, or nearly. And has jiu-jitsu for when it hits the floor, and better stand-up when they're still standing, period. He's better than Chael in the 2 other major aspects of MMA, jiu-jitsu and boxing, or kickboxing, or stand-up fighting, or whatever you want to call it. And he's just as good, if not a better wrestler, MMA wrestler. So, the fight should look very similar, where the first round, it's almost kind of even. Second round, probably the same thing. Then Anderson's going to start to get a little bit worried. He's going to look like he did going back to the corner at the end of round 2 or 3, like he did when he was at the end of round, if you think back to the in round 1 with Travis Lutter. Lutter owned Anderson Silva, and Anderson looked like he went back to the corner totally devastated, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. And then he had the same look on his face when he got up from round 2 or 3 with Chael in the first fight with Chael Sonnen. And like he's just totally confused as to how it's possibly he's being owned in the octagon, because it never happens. Well, he's going to have the same sort of dejected look on his face. And that's about it. And then when he comes back out after that round break, he's just not going to be there mentally. He's going to be starting to break down, starting to doubt himself, and he'll be fighting more with those emotions than he is Chris Wiedman. And Wiedman is going to sort of take his lead and run away with it, and either finish the fight with some kind of jiu-jitsu or a TKO finish. You know, that's kind of what I'm predicting. I'm thinking that it's going to be a TKO. I don't think he's going to be able to submit Anderson, but I think he is going to be able to put enough fist to face on the ground that Anderson isn't going to be able to intelligently defend himself, and he's going to get the TKO win. The referee's going to stop the fight, and it's real unlikely that it goes the distance. That's all I have to say. I would say Wiedman is going to look sort of like John Jones, where he's systematically dealing with a guy, like he's given a little bit of confusion in the first round. This is from Weidman's perspective. Anderson will be a little bit confusing to deal with at first. Round 2, he'll be getting a little bit more comfortable, sort of settling into a pace where he thinks, this is what I got to do if I have to go 5 rounds with this guy. Get a little bit more defensive, and then he'll start to figure out his openings and start taking Anderson down. And then round 3, you're probably going to see Wiedman take Anderson down real early and work some good ground and pound, maybe hunt for a submission or 2 without taking too many risks. And then round 4, again, this is why it's going to look like a John Jones fight, where he's systematically overcoming the adversity his opponent is putting on him. And round 4, he's probably going to look to close it out and finish with a good strong TKO with the very likely ground and pound, where Anderson is kind of turtled against the fence, trying to stand up, and unable to do so sort of from his back using a wall walk. And Anderson will turn his back with his sort of putting his side against the fence and try to stand up that way and defend against the knee and the high crotch that Wiedman will look for, and Wiedman will be able to hold him down in that position and hit him with knees to the body and punches to the side of the head until the referee pulls him off and says that Anderson's taken enough abuse. So there's my prediction. You want to place bets? Bet on round 1 finish for Ronda Rousey, putting an armbar, a real good, solid, typical straight armbar on Miesha Tate, and Misha's going to tap this time. She's not going to let Ronda break her arm again. And Weidman Silva 2 is going to look kind of like John Jones dismantling Rampage Jackson, where he systematically works against the adversity until his opponent begins to sort of break. His will start to let Anderson down, and Weidman will slowly pull ahead until he can pull off a TKO finish in round 3 or 4. That's all I got to say about that. UFC 168, Weidman Silva 2. Place your bets.